I was reading an article this morning. It got me thinking, why aren't we using our own names? Oi, Chin Chao Sing, how's it going, huh?
Why you address me in my full name? Scared me liao. I thought you were gonna scold me or what? Call me Gerard lah.
Who is Gerard? You're not Chao Sing, meh?
Yes lah, that's my name lah, but everybody call me Gerard, so call me Gerard lah.
Why is that, ah? Now that you know my name, please don't address me that way in public. Thank you. In this article, there is this trend where young people like you and me, I assume you're young, has this trend where we need to get an English name because everybody else is doing it, and so we have to do it. And I already did. For those of you who are born with an English name, you might not know this, but in Malaysia, or Asia for the most part, our English names were picked by ourselves. Most of our English names were not given by our parents, unless you're Christian, and in that case then you'll be given your Christian name in the church. We do this because English names are just simpler and it's just easier to remember. Also, it's more convenient when you're trying to set up an email account. Who uses an email? Alright, social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, WeChat, you name it. It's just easier. Just compare this to like Gerard Chin at something.com as opposed to like Chin Chao Sing at something.com. It's just easier to remember this one, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that Gerard is not my real name. On my ID card, you won't see the word Gerard on it. I'm not saying that all of us are like that. There are Christians here with their ID cards that they're actually English names on it. And by English names here, I mean names that seem like English. It doesn't necessarily have to be English. For example, those made up names like and also some Japanese names as well, just not the original given name of the user. To further confuse you guys, we Malaysians, our ID cards only have Malay and English on it. There are no Chinese characters on it. But we were given Chinese names. So what's on the ID card is literally a translated Chinese name. So you might get that it's not exactly English. If Gerard is English 1.0, I would say this is like English 0.05, 0.5. The interesting thing is the way it is translated is a little bit different from the usual Chinese Pinyin that you see in China. It is actually translated based on our own dialect. For those of you who don't know, Pinyin, or in full, Hanyu Pinyin, is the official romanization of the Chinese language. It is also the most used input method for people typing Chinese. This is a very fascinating topic on its own, so it's for another day. But basically speaking, it was started development back in the 50s, and then it was adopted by the UN and also the International Organization of Standardization, IOS, in the 80s. It just makes Chinese so much easier to learn. I am not kidding. I'm so glad that I live in this era and not the one before, because back in the days when my mom used to learn Chinese, it was real tough. Dogs, shut up! Alright, back to the topic of names and ID cards. I did mention that our names were based on the pronunciation of our dialect. So what do I mean? How do I put this? Depending on where we migrated from, even though we are all Chinese, there are different dialects among us. There are the Hainan, Teochew, Hokkien, Hakka, Guangdong. There are just a lot. So I'm the Hakka. And even though we might share all the same Chinese characters or all the same words, we pronounce it very, very differently. For example, my surname or my last name is from the Chinese word Chen. In Cantonese, it is Chan. In Hokkien, Ui, that is Tan. And then in Hakka Fa is Chin. So by remembering that, you can easily tell apart like people that originated from different places, even though we are all Chinese and we have all the same surnames. So in China, it will be Chen instead of the Tan, Chin, and Chan. That is because everything in China is in Pinyin and is so standardized and it's so systematic and just a little bit less interesting. and the rain is back. And speaking of English translated names, I find this to be very interesting as well because I find that my parents always address their friends in this manner. For example, Fu Wan Tot. That's one of the tycoons of Ipoh. That's the first name that came into mind, I don't know why. Strangely, when they say that, there is an accent present in the name. So even though we might say that we are saying the name in English, technically speaking, we are saying it in their dialect, but in a very weird accent. Still, the older generations, especially the English educated people, they address each other in that manner a lot. Back in my schooling days, we always address each other in our Chinese names, our given names. But nowadays, as we step out into the society, I find that we seldom do that. For myself, I just introduce myself as Gerard. I'm Chin. Gerard Chin.
Bond. James Bond.
But then I find that the locals find it super hard to pronounce my name, so a lot of times this happen.
我係 Gerard，唔係 Gerard 都唔係 Gerald 都唔係你諗到乜嘢都假甩都得，總之都唔得。
When I make new friends, I still try my best to tell them my Chinese full name, but then most of them just end up just calling me Gerard anyway, so. The only friends that I have that still address me in my Chinese name or my given name are from my schooling days. Do you have these kind of friends? What are your first thoughts when you think of them? Comment down below and let me know. To me, it just reminds me of all those good old times where it's just so much simpler. We just go out, play some football, catch a movie, and just live off our parents. We should all appreciate these friends actually know and still address us in our given Chinese names. They are the friends that we made before we got out to the society, before we were trained to be a little more protective and a little realistic. They are just the purest of friends. And what's better than them is just those friends that actually call you, address you by your nicknames. And I'm not talking about those nicknames that, tease you or bully you. I'm talking about those like best of buddies kind of nicknames, and they're just the best. They're just the best. So go ahead and reconnect with these friends. I need to do some reconnecting myself. We were born with our Chinese names, and we should be proud of our Chinese names, and we should just rock it with confidence. Alright, that's it for this week, and I'll see you guys next week. If you like this video, if you find this informative or helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. You know the drill. I trust in you guys, and bye-bye. Stay tuned for more. Ciao.